You're Perp, back with another video, and just when you thought last week's episode took things to the next level, this one tops it. And I think where this story is going is very fascinating. This is my Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 7 review. We got a few episodes left, well, 3 episodes left before this season wraps up, and who knows when we're going to get Season 3 because of the whole writer strikes, but we have a lot to talk about in this episode, and man, does this finish very brutal, man. Very brutal. Starting off with just the opening scene of it going to the cabin, and they're playing the Batman theme, which I find ironic because this is definitely a pivotal moment for all of the characters, their younger counterparts and their older counterparts and stuff. And we definitely see younger Shauna going through her Batman phase, and it's very ironic how that kind of plays into the ending. It's very Batman-esque a little bit, you know what I'm saying? That's what it kind of reminded me. And I could appreciate Yellowjackets the kind of like tipping their hat off to the Batman. Maybe they did that on purpose, and maybe, you know, I'm just kind of looking too deep into it. I don't know, but I liked how this whole opening kind of just felt different. You know, the tone constantly is changing throughout the series. And also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the intro kind of changed. It's the same lyrics, but it sounded like somebody else kind of singing it. Anyways, talking about Shauna, she's pretty much putting her child to rest, hence the episode title being Burial, which is very sad. You know, like her younger actress is very much spot on with how Shauna is and why she is when we see her in her adult self, where she kind of puts this whole kind of facade up, and she doesn't really seem to care about things. She's very reckless, and I'm really enjoying how they're displaying what happened to them in the wilderness and how it's really affecting their adult lives and stuff like that. And there's some interesting things that they talk about throughout this episode we're going to get to towards the later half of this review. But going back to present day, and we have the whole gang reunited here. Lottie makes sure that they all get to do these different types of therapies, which are very interesting and very bizarre. One in particular, obviously, Misty's kind of direction she decides to go for is guidance. That was the last one. I think Thaisa, she was the first one to take renewal, and Van, she was kind of against it. She was just sitting there drinking. She's getting really drunk and plastered, and you know, she chooses forage. I think that's what it was. Shauna gets self-care, which ends up being hilarious. But I also like, in between this whole entire scene, we see younger Van talking to younger Thaisa, and you know, we really kind of get to see a little bit more of Van's personality, that she's always been kind of on edge and a little suicidal, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't feel like she really has a purpose. It just gets really dark with Van's character, especially in this episode. But moving along, as everybody kind of goes off and does their own little therapy, you have Shauna. She has to kind of look after this baby goat. I think his name was Bruce, which was hilarious. Misty has to do this whole guidance thing, so she has to kind of sit in this whole tub. And how many times is Lisa going to get finessed? First time she gets finessed by Nat, just letting her just, you know, be able to escape. But I guess she does that because they're going to end up coming back anyways. They don't have anywhere really where to go. So, but it's just a little nitpick of mine. I find it kind of funny at the same time. At the same time, we have Ben continuously tripping out and just hallucinating. There's something about Ben's past that's very dark that made him and Paul kind of part ways. I don't know. I don't know if they mentioned that or I'm just forgetting. And, you know, it makes him kind of also feel kind of on edge and wanting to not be alive. That's the best way I can kind of put it. Also, Misty gets a lot of focus within this episode. A lot of screen time gets put towards like Misty. I find really interesting as she hears some of the girls over talking, and at first she thinks that they're praising her, but then it kind of turns malicious where she feels like the other girls feel like she has probably something to do with it, and they just say some nasty things. She even catches two of them thinking like, hey, if she's not out there and she didn't survive, we can always eat her. So she feels determined to make sure that does not happen. And it's crazy too, man. It's crazy that she's held on to that guilt for so long, and I'm wondering when she's going to start revealing the truth, or maybe Crystal or Kristen isn't even dead. I want to kind of get y'all thoughts on that as well as we continue to talk about this episode. So then it just kind of cuts in between, their younger selves and their older selves, where older Thaisa is kind of not understanding what she's supposed to be doing with a little paintbrush, and all the girls pretty much confront Lottie at some point, while we get a scene of Shauna running into Misty because she pretty much dipped out of that spot trying to get away from Lisa. And pretty much Shauna just says like, yo, I accept who I am, and also calls out the fact that she feels like Misty kind of gets off on just doing the whole serial killer thing. And she would make a great serial killer because nobody would really care, as sad as that is. And going back to Shauna, she's her biggest issue is she's afraid that if she gets too close to Callie, something bad is going to happen to her. She is just scared of being a mom right now, and things that happen in the wilderness have not really made it any better, or she's constantly having that fear. So now we get to Misty and her whole guidance thing, and this is the most bizarre thing I think this show has ever done, but it makes sense only with Misty. Nobody else can do this besides Misty, where it just kind of breaks out into this whole musical thing. She starts talking to her pet owl for guidance, and I really like the line that was used, saying like, you're not a murderer, you're a finish, you're an ender, you're a closer, or something like that. Really dope dialogue, which makes her kind of snap out of it and realize that no, Walter is the person that I need in my life. And she starts to come around to that, and younger Misty starts to kind of try to find Kristen's body before the other girls can, and so she could stop them for eating her dead corpse. She runs into Ben, and Ben's on the edge, and he's ready to jump in that same spot where Kristen pretty much fell. And it's interesting enough, like I said earlier in this review, that Misty couldn't find her body. Something took her body, or maybe she was able to survive that fall. She was just kind of knocked out, and she's still out there somewhere. Who knows? I doubt it, but maybe another animal just took the body. But she is able to kind of convince Ben to get off the ledge. Even she says some of the weirdest shit that I was like, why would you even say that? Tries to threaten him by saying like, I'll tell the whole world that you're gay and stuff like that if you jump, which is like the most opposite thing that you should be telling somebody. But Ben is able to kind of bring himself back to earth. Then we get a scene of Thaisa taking off her wedding ring, and then Van being there, and they're having this whole conversation. And then one thing leads to another, and they have a whole moment where it looks like they about to get it on right there. But Thaisa kind of stops herself, and this is where Van reveals that she has cancer and she only has a few months to live. And man, just when things just couldn't get any worse, or more depressing. We find out that Van is very short on time, and what I'm saying, this is going to be interesting to kind of see play out, and now this is going to make Taissa grow even closer to Van up into her final moments. Let me know how you guys feel about this whole entire scene here with Taissa pretty much taking off a ring, solidifying the fact that she doesn't want to go back with Simone, and that's going to be a whole thing when she returns. I can already see things starting to kind of blow up with these characters. Then we get to the scene with Lottie talking to the psychiatrist that I told y'all that was fake and was all in her head, and this scene pretty much confirms it. And you see her starting to hallucinate and question certain things and wondering, like, looking at it as the group kind of reuniting as a bad thing, or she's just kind of triggered by everything. And it's going to be interesting where this is going to go, because like I said, it's the man with no eyes, or that entity that is pretty much talking to Lottie. And it's interesting to see that kind of theme play out, where everybody is pretty much giving into their dark side, or just their dark side. They're giving into their temptations pretty much towards this end of this episode, where this is where we see Nat try to pretty much gather everybody around, and everybody's pretty much drunk, and now they started to have a good time, where Lottie was trying to get them to all leave, but they were like, no, just enjoy this, just open up, accept this, accept this. This is very much their dark sides coming out, and very much their last moments, happy moments, whatever that may be, together before things start to hit the fan with everybody, and everybody's kind of opening up to each other. Now there's only 6 people left, and that makes me think that everybody else besides them that we don't see anymore yet, there could be some survivors still out there, but this is all we know, is these are the characters that survived the wilderness. So everybody else either got eaten or they ended up dead at some point in the show. So then we cut back to what is the most brutal ass whoopings I've ever seen on a television show. We have Shauna just not in her right mind. She's just out of it. She hears Misty kind of sing this like melody, and she starts to snap on Misty. But which is interesting, if you have really good like headphones or a sound system, there's a transition. I think it's when Misty is talking or listening in on a conversation, and you see people entering the cabin, you can hear something saying, "I'm not hollow," or something hollow. And maybe that's like the spirit kind of messing or manipulating or antagonizing certain characters to make them kind of react a certain way. And this is where Lottie's like, no, I'll be the punching bag. Don't take this out on Misty. And man, Shauna really just goes the fuck to town on Lottie, where her face is damn near just covered in pummel. It just, man, that was hard to watch. But Misty was liking that shit. So that's, like I said, like, I don't know, man. This is just really fascinating how this whole thing is playing out, and how they just keep cutting back and forth to them just enjoying their times together. And you also see kind of Lottie and Nat starting to get a little bit more closer, if you notice, in some of these scenes. So I don't know, that might be a thing in the future. And of course, this whole entire celebration kind of comes to a crashing halt as Shauna gets a phone call from Jeff saying, like, look, they found Adam's body. We might be fucked. This was a great ass episode. Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments below. Where you guys think that this season's gonna end off with? Is Shauna gonna be able to wiggle her way out of this whole entire situation, or is it a wrap? And it's just going to be a domino effect from here on out, and it's just going to affect other people. I don't know. I really enjoyed this episode. Till next time, I will see y'all in the next review. I'm out. Peace.